All right, welcome back to Predict Iowa, episode number 2. I'm Braden Fells, joined here with Nick Harmon.
Yes, I am Nick Harmon.
We are really excited to bring you this second episode, but even more important than the second episode, we have a really special second guest on the show, Silas Lee. Silas, how's it going today?
Hey, I am doing awesome. How are you folks doing?
I've been doing pretty good.
Yeah, it's a beautiful Thursday.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, here at Iowa State.
Living the dream, as one might say.
Oh,
Yeah.
indeed, we are living the dream. I mean, I do think we should introduce our other
Yes, our other guest.
Yes, here the entire time for episode 1 but now we finally got our audio
We got Claudia Murphy out there in the box.
Yay!
Hey guys, how's
on
it
the
going?
ones and twos.
Yeah.
A voice in the sky.
Makes all the magic happen. All right, well, so big announcement since last week. Mike Pence
Incredible.
dropping out of the election.
I mean, we all saw it coming.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, come on.
I mean, we talked about it a little bit this week, but I mean, do we think that this is really going to change anything going forward in the caucus or the election? I personally don't think it is, but
I'd laugh at anybody who actually thought it changed a thing.
Well, I mean, technically, the 9 people that supported him will be going to other
That's
candidates.
unfortunate. I mean, those 9
So-
people.
well, I mean, we talked a lot last week about how Pence wasn't really running for president. He was running to make his name better and not to be all in the January 6th and all that stuff and have that be his legacy. I really don't know how much he disproved it, but I mean, hey.
I mean, he kept running with it. You know, you can't blame the man. He just wants to make sure his name's right in history.
Well,
Which it will be.
it should be. It's kind of sad, though, if you really stop and think about it. The man stood up for what it was right. He upheld the Constitution, but yet that's what ultimately cost him basically his run in the Republican race for caucuses, especially in Iowa.
Well, yeah, I mean, him doing his job is what cost him having a legacy. I mean,
it is unfortunate.
it's
but, you know,
crazy. I mean, he was
That's today's politics. I'm gonna play the old man card. that is what's wrong with you, this generation nowadays. But no, seriously, if you really look at the events, I mean, the man does his job. You thought he was going to do awesome here in Iowa, considering the evangelical base. Sorry, can't talk today. And yet, I mean, he has to drop out before even the caucuses. I mean, amazing.
well, definitely. I mean, Pence is a career politician, but someone who's not, and I know, Silas, you have strong opinions on.
but this guy's going to be good.
Vivek Ramaswamy. Who is he? What are your?
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
I got to waste some syllables on this guy. Yeah, here's the question I have for both of you, and I want you to be honest, all right? You have a serious health ailment, right? Where you say your ticker's going. You know, I can speak on this being at my age. I'm starting to think of these things. But honestly, if I have problems with my prostate, my heart, you know, whatever, would you guys go to a manager for McDonald's for help?
no.
I go to Waffle House.
Oh, Waffle
Yeah,
House,
so
maybe.
They probably get it done.
But I'm being serious. I mean, I'm a senior here in history. Well, I go to somebody working at Long John Silver's to be taught? No. So answer me this question. And it started with Trump, I will say it, and I'll say it here with Vivek. What's with what? Rich guys wanting to be president. I mean, that is what our society has gone to. It's just amazing. I'm not a fan of Vivek. Yes, he's running, and at first when he came out, you know, he played the card of, you know, I'm rich and I can bring you there. If you're going to ask, you know, what some of his policies are, he's you know, playing the trumpet to try to appeal to the Republican base through my interviews that I've seen and his campaign stops. You can hear him spout off about his pro-life stances, anti-woke. He said he was inspired for Trump to run. And, I'm sorry. I've heard this before. I'm sorry. I'm getting tired. Some of the things that the most important item I think that should be discussed is how he's backpedaling on his issues on Israel, because he came out when he first came out. Oh, we shouldn't give money for Israel. We should close down our support for Ukraine, and that actually helped Nikki Haley, which I'm sure future people are going to go on. That you know, his foreign policy is nothing. I mean, have you guys heard of any policies he's really came out specifically on?
I mean, besides the whole, like, get the old people out, like, keeps
Yeah.
going on, but yeah, that's about it, yeah.
And I think that's what's wrong. And as you can see, lately, his poll numbers have gone down, especially after the first debate when he came out blazing and attacking people.
Oh yeah, he was a prospect. He was somebody to look at after that first debate. Just somebody weird, somebody new. But yeah.
I mean, as he said, the funny guy or the guy
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
funny last name.
I know what you're thinking.
Yeah.
What's this funny man with a funny name doing on the stage? That was.
See, he couldn't come up with his own shtick. He had to borrow Obama's.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a good shtick.
I know, but come on. I mean, if you look at his history, he made his money in the pharmaceutical companies and biotech. Okay. How does that qualify him to hold the most powerful position in the world? I think we've learned from this before, is that we have to really look at these candidates that are going to become president people, And, I mean, for me personally, I don't take him seriously. I think he'll stick around for a while. Mm-hmm. But is he going to finish in the top 3 ever? No. My personal opinion, he'll fade out after Iowa and New Hampshire. I don't think he'll even stick around for South Carolina. No. I have a little take later on what I think is going to happen in the Republican Party with this election, because everybody's saying it's Trump. It's Trump. I'm here to say, not so fast.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing. I mean, Nick and I were talking about this a little bit on Tuesday in class. We think Vivek is really just at this point going for a cabinet job. He knows he's not going to win, but I think he did think that there was a chance that he was going to win early on.
I mean, did you guys ever watch, like, the post-debate kind of, like, scrum that they do? I mean, him talking, it was like, you know what? I'm not running for vice president. I'd ask Donald Trump to be my vice president when I'm president. I'm like, oh, whoa. Who does that?
I mean, I do think his campaign strategy is really strange. I don't know if you guys saw, but his, like, the campaign bus or whatever was on Welch Avenue on Halloween night. I was like, what are you trying to get out of this? I mean, like,
personally, I think he's trying to reach. I really hate to say this, but who's he really going after, folks? He's going after your guys' generation. Yeah. He is, and I personally think that he's hoping that he's the TikTok candidate. And what I see on that, you don't really sit and you just go and quick little blips.
Which is a fair strategy. I mean, I don't want to. It's not the best strategy for Republicans, but for younger voters, I mean, trying to be the social media guy is not a crazy idea here. It's smart.
I mean, he's trying he doesn't have much substance. So and so in my opinion, turnout is everything. So is he going to bring your generation to the polls?
Well, I also think it's interesting is he's going so hard after our age range, but then is wanting to raise the voting age, which
I mean, a lot of people from where I'm from, they have kind of similar views. I mean, they don't if it's not for Army and that people, a lot of people in my area believe that should be raised a little bit.
The voting age?
Yeah, they do.
I would just say just raise the IQ levels maybe on some of
yeah.
I don't know.
It's the whole thing about are you mature enough yet? Which I see both sides. I still think it should be 18, but I can see.
I'm a fan. I think the voting age should be 18. I really don't understand this Republican point of, we need to raise it to 21 or 25 or have such an IQ test. I mean, you're just going to discriminate against voters, and it's just going to cause a huge.
Well, the reason why the Republican base is trying to do that, because statistics show that I believe your generation, younger generation, is leaning towards more progressive and more to the left.
Yes,
and
college students are all Democratic.
And the base of the Republican Party are older folks. Yeah. What's ironic, though, that I find is with that same philosophy, Republicans are trying to hang on to that base, is that through the years, it's a different Republican Party. Mm-hmm. And that's part of the breakoff that I'll see in the future here. But it's not, the Republican base that I remember of, Ronald Reagan and, Robert Dole and of that nature, of Nixon. It's a whole different radical kind of base, which is starting to show the power if you look at what's been going on in the House lately.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, big critic of Vivek. What would you say, though, if you had to, his biggest strength would be?
Full set of hair. I don't know. Something maybe I'm jealous of, maybe, you know what? I mean, I hate to say this, honestly. I don't see a strength. of it.
Really?
His money? I mean, well, no. I mean, I'm sorry. Call me a traditionalist. I look at things and I see what can you offer me,
Yeah.
and uh, and I go at this with an open mind. Okay, and I do look at him. First of all, when you talk on both sides of your mouth, and I know what people say. Well, that's what politicians do. Well, not necessarily. I mean, you got to have some substance, some base. He flip flops a lot.
Yep.
Just take Israel. Right, that was something that he was against, the funding of and everything. And now, well, now we're going to be looking at this because he's talking to Jewish voters. You can't do that. Looking at what he's came out to, he kind of like hitches. I'm anti-woke. Well, isn't that him trying to dive into DeSantis's reign? I'm pro-life. Well, that was, in my opinion, trying to go into hitting the Iowa crowd, trying to get in the lane of Tim Scott. And
Mike Pence.
yes, and Michael Pence, exactly. He doesn't have nobody that, I mean, can you name me an issue that he really has? That it's his, when you say it, you can say Vivek.
Not really, no.
Like he just pulls other people's talking points and thinks they're gonna work together, but then doesn't have the backing that those people have. Like I know one of his big things is he's always going against China and whatever. But then when Nikki Haley was asking him in the debate about like what's your foreign policy experience, he just shut up because he didn't have any.
Mm-hmm.
No, and that is why. That you know what that is why I think that when you go outside of the outsider, we shouldn't go down that road.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I see as in my generation. I at least want to have somebody that does have the country in mind, that has the experience, that knows what the in and outs are of the political world, how to get things passed, how to talk, how to bring up. And I don't think he has that. He's like a chameleon. He just blends into whatever he thinks his benefit will be.
Yeah. I mean, I do understand that's a fair one, but like yet again, my area, very Republican farming kind of town. I mean, they look at a lot of these politicians. In his vein, he's doing the Trump card, and I think we all know that, trying to be the outsider, and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that to me is a strength in this time, is that he's being the outsider that is seen right now. So Trump's not in the debate, but he's in the debate right now, and he's trying to be that kind of outsider that, honestly, a lot of people gravitate to. Like, politician isn't that much of a trusted kind of person from my area.
So we're just going to get the neighbor down the street to run the country?
I understand that, but I'm just saying. I mean,
and people wonder why we're the mess we're the way. I'm sorry, just common sense. You know what? Here's where I have a problem with it. Once again, where our politics are, and here's my older generation card again, is look where we're standing. Values are out. What just happened yesterday in the House? Republicans, they failed to, and a Republican is the one who came up with the vote to try to have Santos voted out. Didn't. And why is that? Because the Republicans hold a small majority in the House. They want to keep that.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to put somebody that lied everything on the application. Everything's been found. More stuff's going to happen. But yet you still want to have it. Still goes, and just so you know, goes on both sides too. Yeah. Because Democrats, same thing with Hernandez, I think, up in New Jersey. He's the guy that got busted with getting all the the gold bricks in his jacket and the thousands of dollars in coat pockets and everything. And he wants to stay on, and not voting him out. This is what I'm talking about, is that there used to be outsiders were, okay, they were a representative, or maybe they were somebody else that at least had something to bring to the table. But going back to the days of even Ross Perot, I remember him in the 90s. That's before you guys were a twinkle in your parents' eye, is that is somebody that actually had a little traction, but his thing was just all business. Yep. What's Vivek's? It's not even business.
Oh, yeah, no.
His is just spouting off little things and trying to get little media clips. Once again, a TikTok kind of election.
Well, and I know we talked about it a little bit last week. I think it's funny. I was scrolling on my For You page the other night, and I saw Vivek doing a dance with Jake Paul, and I was like,
my God.
We're considering this guy? I was like,
I don't know.
It's kind of crazy. Speaking of Santos, though, I'll always remember watching Jimmy Kimmel and then breaking the story of how Santos claimed to be like a professional volleyball player or something like that. And it would just be like a week straight of it's just like how do you even get that amount of
So much
longevity?
content from one person is just crazy. How many
Nothing
pages?
was funnier than watching like the press or whatever following him into his office and him like strutting away trying to get away from that. Oh, it was a good time.
Did you see his tweet yesterday saying how he won? He put a little crown on himself and a graphic. I was like, what is this guy doing?
That's insane. Well, so obviously Vivek, big in the debates, big for better or for worse, is the most active person. I mean, how do you feel? Or the most clippable person.
Right.
How would you feel this has impacted his campaign?
He's making Nikki Haley look good.
Yeah.
I mean, you really think of it. She was smart to attack him on his foreign policy. How smart does she look now? Now you're going to see people like I said, he won't last. And the reason is what's going on in Israel right now is everything he was against helping him. And what's the Republican Party? Oh, that's another thing. He's running on a Republican ticket, but he said more than one time, I don't consider myself a Republican. Okay, I understand. Well, see, there you go
Yeah,
again.
yeah, flipping.
Substance. Exactly. So you go back, his effect is, I think, making the other candidates that are smart enough to take advantage of his mistakes look good. And right now, if you play out of that first debate, his little exchange with Nikki Haley, man, that makes her look strong,
Oh, yeah,
especially when it
indeed.
comes to foreign policies.
Oh, I think him in those debates alone make him one of the makes him one of the him helping her was big, I do believe. Not like he didn't mean to, but him just being himself and Haley attacking him for that made her a bigger candidate than she was.
Well, yeah. Well, to follow that up, I know I do not. I admit, folks, I don't do social media. I'm gonna have to get this from my kids to see this or whatever. Yes, I don't do social media, but that's the thing. Problem though, I think my generation, okay, older, is he's losing his steam with that. Maybe he's still people reading the tweets, still reading that range, but I think making the newspapers, making the TV, I haven't seen much. When I watch my CBS News or NBC, I don't see much. When I read the Post or I read the New York Times.
I do think it's interesting though. As much as I think he is like his flaws or whatever are getting exposed in these debates, I think him being as active as he has kept his name more relevant than other candidates.
Oh yeah.
I would say that's done positive enough press where people will just open up TikTok or open up Instagram, especially in our age demographic. You'll open it up and you'll see, like I remember after the second debate, it was just like an NBC TikTok or whatever came up, and it was highlights from the debate, and it was like 10 total clips, and like 6 of them were from Vivek. So anyone who didn't watch the debate would be like, oh, wow, this guy probably did really, really good because he's here the most.
Say what you will about him flipping out. I totally agree with all your stance so far, but from being a relatively unknown guy to being like still in it, that's kind of impressive. I'm not gonna lie. Well, I understand. I think it's kind of impressive.
Is it impressive with him, or is it impressive that he's still around in, in reality, TV generation?
Sure.
Is there once again substance?
No, I get it.
He's a billionaire or close to a billionaire that's been in by buying and offering different things for people to get qualified. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't he doing something before that, hey, we'll give you a gift card? Or no, Doug Bergman.
Yeah, it was Bergman, yeah.
Doug? Who's Doug? Anybody seen Doug, by the way?
We talked about Doug last week.
Oh, you guys did?
Yes, we did.
Oh,
We
okay.
talked about the big three, Christy, Doug, and my boy Asa,
Okay.
who is still in it, technically. I want to point that out.
Brother. But no, I mean, going with Ramaswamy, I just think he keeps himself active. Yeah, you know what he reminds me of? He just reminds me of somebody that he reminds me of. You guys been around? I'm a big dog lover. You guys dog lover?
Yeah.
I know.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I know. I'm going down the road
Big
here.
fan of
You're gonna
dogs.
like this, okay? Have you noticed that the small dogs do most of the yipping? Big dogs just sit back and small dogs a little. That's
Saying Vivek's like a chihuahua?
yes, yes. That's what I see. That's good. Yeah, I just see him, just yipping, just staying around and stuff. I don't know.
Claudia thought that one was good. She was laughing.
you like
at
that,
it.
Claudia?
You got to
Yeah.
pop out of Claudia.
Yeah.
Well, kind of transitioning then from the craziness Chihuahua of Vivek to Tim Scott.
Oh yeah.
Definitely a more normal candidate.
Mild mannered a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of lost in the midst of things a little bit, but
To me, before all the debates and everything happened, I was actually interested in seeing how Scott would do. I mean, he was pretty big in commercials early on. He's kind of, unfortunately.
He's going out.
Yeah.
so what do you think? Yeah.
Well, before we start, I do have a question. As a black man, I do got to ask, why is it I'm stuck with the brown and the black candidates, man? Right? What's up with that?
If Pence didn't drop out, we'd.
I mean, come on. But anyway, I just noticed that. I was like, come on, man. But anyway.
Rough one.
It was originally going to
No,
be
no,
someone-
no,
It
no.
was Pence. I mean, we have receipts. We have receipts. Last week we did say it would be Pence and Vivek.
Yep,
We
no,
did.
that's true. That's true. Well, no, in all seriousness, Tim Scott, he is playing more of the card of the traditional Republican, okay? He has a nice resume where he was elected to the South Carolina State House back in 2009, served there in the U.S. House of Representatives. And this political road started him getting on the Charleston County Council. He is a staunch conservative, a strong Christian. He throws that values out. He is somebody that has touted he's came from nothing to, and I will give him that. He's worked hard and he made his money and his bones and has worked up from nothing and has done the traditional way. At least I will give him something with substance. His big problem, though, is the guy is just too nice. I mean, really, he is. He was quoted, in fact, as I look here in a story in the Des Moines Register, they were talking to a person from Dallas County where it was basically said that, you know what, he's so nice. He's so nice, but we wanted more from him, more excitement. In fact, we were jokingly talking about giving him a triple espressos to get him going. They said that. And that is the problem with Tim Scott. He is just bland. And that's not going to do it in today's politic world. I don't know. What do you guys think? I'll hit on some of his policies here in a second.
I'm about the same with that as well.
I think Tim Scott seems like kind of guy it'd be cool to sit down and get a coffee with, play around a golf with, be in a fantasy football league with, but couldn't really see him running the country.
You know what? Even as the debates, he just doesn't seem there. He seems like I'm there to make sure I have one or two videos I can put on my next commercial, and that is it.
Honestly,
Even that little battle he had with Haley didn't seem that crazy. It seemed like it was more for Nikki than it was for anything Tim could do.
looking at Vivek, you used the Chihuahua example. You have the big dogs who aren't really
Oh,
attacking
yeah.
as greyhounds or whatever.
I think Tim Scott's
Tim's-
kind of a Saint Bernard. He's there.
Yeah.
He's there.
He's like the chill or like the old dog just
Yeah.
kind of sitting in the corner, just
Yeah.
kind of being there.
Yeah,
He
carrying
just-
something that's needed, that little barrel right there. But,
Yeah.
Where you need him to attack more.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And that's the problem. If any of these candidates are going to catch Donald Trump, they have to start getting more aggressive. Now, the one thing that I thought it was kind of sad, though, is around the time where Donald Trump received his fourth indictment, you figure that was an opening that somebody could go there and, attack. Instead, Tim Scott was quoted, and this was on abcnews.com. It was Tim Scott quoted basically on Trump's fourth indictment. He called it un-American that the Justice Department was unfairly going after Trump. Really? I was always brought up to believe is, you break the law, you're going to be brought up on charges and stuff. And that was something that I think he needed to go attack. He isn't. Right now, he's polling, last poll I saw, I think even in his own state in South Carolina, he's only polling at 6%.
To go off of that one note, though, do you think if he would have attacked Trump, do you think that really would have helped him at all?
How's it gonna hurt?
Well, if you attack him, his base won't like you.
Once again,
That's what a lot of these people are trying to do is make sure they don't anger the Trump base too much. Which I understand what you're getting at, but that's a risky move.
here's the two things I keep on telling folks about this. If you're going to go after the king of the mountain, you got to go after the king, right?
I get it.
And you're not going to get it with your hands tied behind your back. You're not going to move up in the polls. And as I'll get on to a little bit later here, is that what happens if that wall's starting to crumble for Trump?
That's fair.
Watched a lot of mafia movies in my time, and I did. And what do they all have in common?
Think Trump's going to get whacked?
Not whacked. That
Metaphorical whack?
but I could see. But what you are seeing is a lot of his lawyers already copping plea deals.
Gotcha.
And usually, when people cop plea deals, they're going because they're trying to save their own skin. That's going to go up. Well, people like Tim Scott, who is at the bottom of the field, they got to make a run if they want to get this. Now, I don't know how much money he still has left, but he had a nice little war chest. But he has been reported taking all his sourcing of funding and coming straight to Iowa. And I think he's making this gamble. Yeah. And he wants to see if he can get second.
So kind of in the same vein, we all know Christie has been going up against Trump a lot. And that's really what he's made an entire base on. If Trump would go down today, do you think that helps Christie at all? Because he's been anti-Trump.
I think no, it does.
You think it would?
I think it would help Christie.
You think he'd immediately go?
I don't know if he would immediately shoot up.
Yeah, but you think
at the end of the day, I think Nikki Haley is going to be the savior of the Republican Party, looking at a lot of stuffs and demographics and looking at the numbers and how she's sailing up. I think that she will hit the base to the Republican Party of being that traditional Republican. Tim Scott, he comes out with a lot of his stances, like he is pro-life. He's devoutly, like I said, religious. He has a strong, he's against teacher unions. So he's strong for, quote unquote, what should be taught in the schools. The thing that's pretty ironic with that is that he hasn't come out with too many policies strong. Naturally, the border, if you watch his commercials, he's going to protect your kids, and he's going to finish that wall. And lately, I couldn't believe he pulled this. I died laughing, is that he pulled and the left called me the N-word. Well,
You think that's a Hail Mary?
Yes.
We're not watching it right now.
Yes.
That's a Hail Mary play.
I was like, really? You're going to play the black card now? It's like, well, at least I have enough guts to say the word, It's in our history books. It's in this. So, say it on TV. That may wake up some people to vote. I don't know. I didn't like that. Just because what the hell does that have to do with what you're running on? You're running as a staunch conservative, trying to get votes, trying to come from the belly of the pack. And right now, DeSantis and Haley has a strong hold for those upper levels right now. Yeah. Tim Scott has to come up with something these next couple months before January 15th. I don't think that's going to happen. I like what you said about the Saint Bernard. He has that look in his things, kind of like da, 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 dee, dee. That's what I see when I see Tim Scott. I see a man with substance. I see something to say. He's just not taking advantage of being aggressive. You can't play nice in politics. You got to play that card, and you got to go what you believe in. And he's not going to go anywhere because, once again, I do find it kind of interesting that his religious background is not doing him well here in the state of Iowa.
Well, I also think one of the huge things hindering him is having someone else from his state running.
Oh yeah.
I think you take, let's say Nikki Haley isn't running. You have Tim Scott, only South Carolinian, going at it. I think he's doing much better.
I think a good amount of Haley's base would be with Scott right now.
But if you're not able to even be the top polling candidate in your own state, what's making it say that you'll be in all 50?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think my prediction is it's got to be the next one to drop out of the main ones we're discussing. Not talking like a Doug or whatnot, but Ryan Hurley, I think his name is, that guy.
Has he not dropped yet?
Binkley, Ryan Binkley. I think out of those bigger candidates, the ones who have been in the debates, I think Tim Scott's going to be the next to drop.
You think Scott's going to drop before Vivek?
Yeah. I think Vivek is too
think
cocky.
He's going to, yeah.
Yeah, but
I do think that too. I just want to make clear.
Vivek's going to stay along to write a book, tax write-off. I mean, think about it. He has nothing. No, I agree with. I think Scott will drop because some polls in New Hampshire right now, and I got these numbers from Project 538. it's showing Scott polling at 2.1%. And that was as of October 11th.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's just not hitting it.
Oh, yeah, no.
He doesn't have, once again, you got to have that personality. The other thing that I think is hurting him, good or bad, it's just an observation, is he's trying to hit with the religious standpoint. And religion doesn't hit national polls. It works well in Iowa, maybe some parts of the South, but it's not going to hit because religion is not really a strong point of getting people to the polls as what it once was.
Yeah. Oh, that's fair.
No, I fully agree.
Yeah, a question for everybody here. I know that we were talking in the beginning, like, do we see Scott even getting to South Carolina? Is what I'm kind of curious. No, you don't think so?
I don't think so. I think he drops out after New Hampshire, and for the main reason is if he wants to run later on, he doesn't want to look bad showing, in my opinion, he doesn't want to look like he's polling terrible or do bad in his own state.
That's fair.
Haley is going to beat him up. Haley's the one that gave him his start, and Haley pointed that out, what he had done.
That was pretty good.
It was. And I think also, and this is going to allude to more that I'm going to get on a little bit later, is what I foresee happening for Republicans later. But I start to see the base, if they have a shot to replace Trump the way the base does, we're talking the wing of, McDonald and everybody, they're going to have to start rallying behind one person. And that one person, in my opinion, will be Haley.
Oh,
Interesting. I mean, yeah, I agree with that. I don't think he makes it, or maybe past New Hampshire by a couple days, but not much. I mean, and kind of flipping into the next thing. So you've mentioned a couple times pulling the old person card or whatever. What's your history with caucusing or elections? What's that kind of look like for you over time?
You know what? As a, I'm 56, and I've seen a lot of elections. My first election I remember was in '76. My dad was a welder, working class. My mom worked as a CNA and homemaker. We were a Democratic household, so I vaguely remember like my parents dancing when Nixon resigned. I remember they were happy. They went for Jimmy Carter was the first election. I remember us going to a caucus in '76, and I was there with my mom and my dad. And then the one I really got into was in '80, and then in '84, I worked on a campaign. I couldn't vote. I was a junior in high school, but I worked on Jesse Jackson's campaign. And then I would say in '88, I worked on a campaign of Richard Gephardt, who won Iowa Caucus. In the caucusing, and then I did fundraising for political action groups, going door to door to get out the vote. And I worked on national campaigns. But going back to early caucuses, you saw more of a turnout. They were very exciting. Something that I think that politics, people paid attention more to your news stations. Something that there was only 3. Yes, there was 3 channels. Imagine, I know your guys' heads are just flipping out already, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
But you know what? People were in tune. I think that people as a whole were more in tune to politics. It was something that was talked about, read about. We got 2 newspapers back here in Des Moines. We had the Register in the morning, the Tribune at night. And, people tuned in. My parents always tuned in to Walter Cronkite at 5:30 to watch CBS News. So caucuses were very exciting. And they've always been a part of my life. I voted and gone to every one. The first one that I took my kids to was when Obama in 2008. So, that's a little bit of my backdrop of caucuses and politics. It's been fun. I've seen a huge change. Sadly, I think more people should get involved. That's I don't care who a person votes for, Republican or Democrat. I just want you to get involved. And that's just something that I think the caucuses, I think that it needs to be revamped. I think it's a little too, crazy. And that's why, that's one of the reasons why Iowa lost it, let alone the demographics of Iowa and the representation. I think that's why the Democrats decided to take that out first, which they should.
Yeah.
I don't think Iowa represents America. And if you're going to be strategic, you have to represent, if you're going for Democrat or Republican, but if you're going to be strategic to gauge your candidate, you do need more of a variety in there. But I go back to, like I said, the one thing I do remember, and I'll just say this, and this was my old man card again, is I do remember with a lot of the caucuses when I was a kid and younger, a lot more talking, a lot more screaming, or a lot more conversations. Nowadays, you have some of that, but unfortunately, you got a lot of you folks on that phone, and you're not, you're a lot more typing and stuff. I don't know how much of the interest is.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it is rough. I do believe, especially Democratic caucuses, could be an electric thing to just be a part of. I think,
Oh, it was.
especially when I was with my mother for Hillary and when she was
Bernie,
running
yeah.
Bernie, that was, I mean, people stood their ground and they made sure people knew how they felt. But yeah, I did think the caucus was an electric thing to go to. But going off the caucuses with you growing up, have you seen much change with the way the Democratic caucuses have gone, or has it all fairly been kind of similar
It's
throughout the
been
years?
fairly similar. I mean, nowadays, I don't think you see as much grassroots,
Mhm.
door to door, as you once did. I think social media has that.
Yeah.
Uh, I think that's your biggest thing.
Yeah.
I also think awareness of politics have gone down.
Right.
I think that's fair to say. I think and I do think that's unfortunate. I mean, I do. I mean, you look at voter turnout, it's sad, especially midterms, right? It's something that's a privilege to do. It's something that is something that I think is very important. And what you're stating with the caucuses, no, it is very exciting,
Yep.
and it's a political process. I think that we should be smarter. And I do like just the regular voting because I just think, unfortunately, with today's society being so-called such in a hurry and can't sit still, it takes too long.
Mm-hmm.
And so that appeal.
Oh no, yeah.
I come from the
take 2
belief.
hours.
I come from the belief that I believe strongly that we should make voting a national holiday. I think it's something that's just important because it's a staple of our country. It's a staple of our creation of our country. And it's something that is important. And I think if you give people time to do this, I think you would have a higher turnout and people being more involved.
Oh yeah.
All right, what over your years, what is the best ran campaign? Would you, if you have one off, what do you think the best ran campaign is that you've seen?
The best campaign I've ever seen, there's, I would say, off the top of my head, yeah, Obama's was good. Think about it. First black man being voted for president. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. It's sad that our country took that damn long, but it is very impressive to get over that. But that's that's low-hanging fruit. The best campaign that I seen, because you got to think of the mentality of society back then, was Bill Clinton. And here's why. That man got busted for having an extramarital affair. And guess what? He comes up to it, and it appears with Hillary Clinton on there, and he got through it. Back then, people thought smoking pot was a big thing. He inhaled, right? And he got on there. Well, yeah, I did inhale, but Hillary, what do you think? I don't know.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. That was years of practice. That man still got elected.
Oh yeah.
And that's the thing that I thought was very impressive. He talked to people. He reached. I remember a point where he was on a debate, and George Bush was in the background, George W. And George W. looked at his clock like, why am I still here? And a person got up, a woman got up, asked a question about something economical. And you know what Bill Clinton did, which Clinton did? He could work people. He stood up and he walked over to that woman and he looked at her straight in the eye and talked. Bill Clinton could always work a room. And to me, his campaign, getting over those hurdles, because you got to understand, in the 90s, back then, I like to think our society had some morals. If you 4 years earlier, get this, 4 years earlier, here's some 6 degrees of separation. 4 years earlier, in 1988, Gary Hart basically got pushed out because Donna Rice sat on his lap. That was it, and he was out. And then you had Bill always having to, oh no, then you go nowadays, and that's the thing. That's how far the thing that has changed is we go from Gary Hart in '88 getting kicked out for sitting on someone's lap to in 2016 electing Donald Trump after the tape came out with Access.
Oh,
What's the show? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
TMZ with Billy Bush and everything. Man, how far we've come.
Oh, definitely.
But no, going back to Bill Clinton, the way he did his marital affair, smoking pot back then was a big deal. All those things, man, the man dodged it. And he beat George Bush, which was riding in the coattails still. And he made it. And, a man from a little town named Hope in Arkansas, he is. By the way, a great movie to watch a little bit that parlayed off of that campaign. I think it was True Colors, maybe.
oh yeah.
I think that was
I
the
do
movie.
think so,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that's what it was called. Maybe I'm wrong, but it came out. It was a very good movie.
And I guess on the flip side, what would you say the worst ran campaign that you've seen has been, if you have one?
Hillary Clinton.
Oh yeah.
Hillary should have won.
Yeah.
Hillary got too cocky about her name.
Mhm.
Hillary did not go back and visit Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, some of these key states, Florida, Wisconsin. Hillary should have destroyed Donald Trump. The only reason why Donald Trump won is because Hillary did not motivate women, blacks, young people to the polls. Always has been, always will be. If black people if we go to the polls and vote, the Democrat wins, period. If young people go, same thing. She ran the worst campaign ever because she had it. If you look at it, the numbers, she only lost a total of, I think, 70,000 votes total. And that was her being cocky, thinking that, well, since my name's Clinton, I should have ran. Even on the mistakes she made, think about that. Throughout the whole thing about the emails, if she would have came out at the beginning and accepted her mistake and said, hey, you know what, I screwed up and da-da-da, it'd be a different ballgame. If she went and campaigned and worked for those votes. But no, she didn't. And don't get me wrong, that there was a small part that Bernie Sanders people stayed home and like little crybabies and stayed home and didn't go and vote because they didn't go for the second best. But that's why we ended up with Trump. And that was the worst campaign I've ever seen.
I guess kind of for a last kind of thing, and I have an idea of who you're going to say. What is your prediction for the Iowa caucus?
Well.
And then who do you think is going to win the overall?
the
fight?
two-part thing.
Okay. Now, remember I say this. You're going to say, man, he was right. Okay. Here's what I see. On the numbers, yes, I think Trump should win the Iowa caucus. But, and here's the but, folks, is with the trials going the way they are, and if you see more people flipping, the key one, if you see John Eastman, his main lawyer, flip, then that's going to go down. And that's the only thing I think the Republican base is waiting for. And that's where I will say Nikki Haley is the one I see coming up being the representative and winning the Republican nomination. There could also be, maybe a small outsider that comes up. And who that is, I have no idea. But I will say this, in my heart of hearts, I think this is going to be the most exciting election coming up in 2024. Because I see the parties split. In Republicans, I see your base of Trump, and then your other Republicans, the moderates, and I say the same group who is they're all going to come together. And I do think it's going to come down between Haley and Trump. I think Democrats, I called from the beginning, I don't think Joe Biden's going to run. I don't. I think he's going to sit. And the person that you're going to see is you're going to see Kamala Harris from the moderate wing. And then you're going to see Gavin Newsom. Now think about this. You've been seeing Newsom pop up everywhere, right? You do in the background. He's in China shaking hands. He's threatening, going on a debate with DeSantis. You're seeing him in the news, and that's the liberal wing. And when it's all said and done, I think the winner of the whole kit and caboodle of our next president will be, I think Nikki Haley's going to come out with this in the head, unless Democrats get together and push that turnout. That's what I see. I don't see Trump making it. I see Trump coming down. I know his core supporters are core. They're not going to drop off. But if the rest of them get off their tentative asses and campaign and be aggressive and point out the obvious things, and people don't be afraid what the backlash is going to be, I think the Republicans have to. And I could see, and I could see Trump going off and being an independent. Mm-hmm. Trump doesn't care about the Republican Party. Trump cares about Trump. Yeah. And that's the thing at the end of the day. I think that we do have a battle, and I'll be serious here. One of the saddest days of my life was January 6th, seeing what happened to our country, that our capital got attacked, and that hadn't happened since 1812 from the British. People don't see how serious that was, and I do think our democracy is unstable right now. I worry about my children. I worry about your guys' generation. I worry about my grandchildren. So I do think this next election is the most important election we'll have in the history of this country, and that's not going. So it's going to be interesting to sit back and see what happens. I think it'll be the debates are going to be fun. I think they're going to be exciting, but I do really think you're going to see Trump go down. Now, remember, play this later, and you're going to be like, I'll expect my deal from CBS or NBC, my radio, or do this whatever podcast thing is. Because I'll be honest, I've never heard a podcast before. Oh. I know. Back to my day.
Be another Steve Kornacki.
Yes, but no, I mean that's what I see. I see that Nikki Haley is ascending. Mm-hmm. I think I could see Trump saying some stupid stuff, but I honestly think that more and more with this trial, you're going to see more stuff what he basically tried to do. And to me, what people did to that Capitol is no different what the Confederacy did. It's treason. Because you're breaking off from the United States of America's government. And I think that's where more people need to look up. I think that you'll see Nikki Haley, and this is one last thing I'll say. The reason why I think she's the one is because of her foreign experience. And usually two things come down when it comes to electing a president. Economy, number one. Number two, though, is what's going on in the world and it's national security. Right now, we don't have it. We have some worries. You have this stuff messing around in Israel right now. You got Iran talking. You got Russia and Ukraine. We have a southern border that anybody is coming over. And these are things that, honestly, we have to look at. And I think those are the things that are going to bring people up. And I think that's why Nikki Haley is the one that you got to watch out for. Biden, if he wakes up and gets into it, he's done some great things, passing bipartisan legislation, right? But let's face it, guys. I mean, he looks like me without my morning coffee. You just pick up and go, right? Yeah. And I think that you're going to have people fighting all over Kamala. Her ratings are, people don't like her. You're seeing Gavin Newsom. Yes, I know he's looking at 28, but I honestly think watch him.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be interesting. But on the GOP side, we have a debate. The third one is coming up next week.
Yeah.
And right in time for us to talk about it on the next podcast.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to it. It's in Miami, right? The next debate?
I do believe so, do you know?
Claudia's checking it for us.
So our voice in the sky are going to fact check us. But yeah, I do think it's Miami. Because it's a big DeSantis one.
Yeah.
I do think, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see if DeSantis.
Oh, Claudia.
The debate is scheduled for Miami.
All right, look at that.
The home court advantage for DeSantis here.
Yeah.
It's his biggest one, right?
Oh, it's going to be
because he's losing steam now.
I don't think DeSantis is going to. I think
Homelander drops out?
I think Homelander. We talked about this on Tuesday. About I don't know if you've ever seen the TV show The Boys.
No.
Very
So it's like it's a superhero show, but it's like a grounded in a more realistic one.
It's more how superheroes will probably act in our world. So
Okay.
they're a little more evil, a little more like we have all this power. Yeah.
And it's the main character is this guy Homelander, and he's kind of a Trump-esque parody.
Oh, yeah.
But like in this debate, there have been multiple instances of like scenes from the show and stuff DeSantis has said that's like dang near parallel. It's really interesting. So I don't know. I could see him if he doesn't do good. If he doesn't, I think get second or third in Iowa and New Hampshire. I think he's done.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, no.
I can see that. No, you know what? And I can see that too. I really can. I think he's hoping, but yeah, this slide is hurting him. And what he's been saying about foreign policy again, this is Haley's,
Forte, yeah.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, she's right now dancing around him, getting him with the jab. If you're going into a boxing, she's like the Muhammad Ali, just floating in and tagging him and everything. And DeSantis, he's good with his prepared stuff. If you watch DeSantis, he's not good with counterpoints back and forth. And that's where he needs to try to make a move. It's going to be very interesting to watch.
All right, well, we'll be talking about the debate as well as Nikki Haley next
we're
week.
going to be starting with our one political person per podcast with Haley. I can't wait.
It's going to be Haley and then DeSantis. Then
Big
we're
boy
gone,
Trump.
Well, we're gone for a week for
Oh, I forgot
Thanksgiving
There-
break.
Yep.
And then we'll be back with Trump.
I want to come back.
It's
for
going to
Trump.
be a lot
Please.
of people. It's
I'll
gonna
work
be-
on my impersonation a little bit.
Oh,
There's
yeah?
going to be a lot of people.
I
for
think
that one, I
we're
think.
not sure who we'll have someone on next week. Someone actually also might be. I think Claudia might be stepping out of the booth, stepping
There
in for
we
me.
go.
Yeah, Voice in the Sky is going to be in the room.
All right.
Woo!
So it's an exciting stuff. Well, unless do you have anything else you want to add, Silas?
Not at all. I just want to say thank you for inviting me on. I had a
great.
blast.
for coming,
Love
yeah.
to come back again anytime, talk politics, because this is what it's all about. This is something that I love to hear and talk, and I'm excited to watch you guys talk about this. So
Yeah.
good job.
Well, perfect.
It
Well,
was a great episode. Yet again, shout out to our socials, Caucus Predictor 318. Follow those.
and yeah, big thanks to our social media team. Should be seeing some clips going up soon. But yeah, make sure to like, follow, subscribe, share. I don't know.
Yeah, all that
What-
jazz.
Whatever the kids say these
Oh,
days.
yeah.
Listen to
you
you,
say,
what the
Silas?
kids say.
I do want, before we end it real quick, I do want to point out all the notes Silas had.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Show
I'm
me.
old school, man. I brought it.
I
brought
mean,
my
you can
notes
hear
and
the
everything.
notes. That's a lot. That's a
Oh
lot.
yeah, that's some old school there.
No, it was a great episode.
Oh, yeah. I think it went very well.
Yeah.
We are looking forward to seeing you next week on Predict Iowa.